Everyone, and good morning. Welcome to a very special edition of the Big Brother 19 live feed update. We're going to be talking about last night's episode as well here, but this is all spoilers. So this is still spoilers. If you're here for the episode recap, we are going to be talking about the feeds as well as we talk through it. We will focus on the episode first, but we will be talking spoilers. So just a warning. It's not really. This is Big Brother 19 we're talking about. Are there really such a thing as spoilers? Who knows? But I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and today I am joined by a very special guest as well. I've got Rob Cesternino here with me. How you doing, Rob?
You should have said special guest and then said Brent and then left it hanging. Yes, good morning. No, I'm very excited to get back talking some Big Brother. Haven't talked to any Big Brother 19 since we talked to Big Meech on Wednesday. So very excited to be here with you guys on and see what it's like to be one of the panelists on the esteemed Daily Update.
Oh yeah, it's a very special honor, Rob. So you should be grateful.
I really like what you've done with the studio, Taran. I feel like I saw that yesterday. It's very good.
Yeah, I'm hopefully gonna get more, so there's not a gap here. But anyway,
hey, baby steps.
Yes. We've also got Brent here. How you doing, Brent?
What's up, robot? How you doing?
I'm good.
Uh-oh. Oh, I thought you couldn't hear me. You didn't say anything. I was like, uh-oh, can you not hear me? Wait, okay.
Yes.
My joke felt totally full.
We had the Game of Thrones finale last night. That didn't leave me feeling great, but that's fine. So we're here to talk about everything Big Brother 19. So let's start off by recapping this episode.
Can I just really quickly say that we had such a great time in Utah over the weekend. I got to see so many of the RHAP listeners. We did a live News AF and a Survivor panel. I posted the live News AF from Utah, but it was just, it's so much fun when you go out into you're just doing these podcasts and you're by yourself or talking to one other person. And sure, you get feedback on Twitter and Facebook, but then when you go out and actually talk to people that you really listen to this, it's it is it really does recharge the battery when you go out in there and hear from people in the real world.
Yeah, I unfortunately wasn't able to make it to Salt Lake City, but I was incredibly jealous when I saw all the pictures, especially of Tyson, because I want to meet Tyson.
Tyson with Dominic. I could watch an entire reality show with Tyson and Dominic, I have to say.
Yeah. That's a bromance.
It looked like you guys had a lot of fun there, though. So good job on the Salt Lake City RHAP-con. So let's talk about this episode. We start off with the wiener competition. And man, what a fun competition that was. Basically, throughout the entire competition, we had diary rooms from basically everyone in the competition who said, man, I'm just really relying on this person, and Paul to win this HOH. Every single person said they wanted Paul to win here. Rob, why does everyone want Paul to win except for Paul?
Yeah, well, I think that we've outlined that situation quite a bit, that it's really not in Paul's interest to have to be the person to pull the trigger. He sort of painted himself into this scenario where it was described to me by someone I was talking to recently as a reverse Dan Giesling, where the move, instead of Paul is in this situation where he has to throw all the competitions early and then win out at the end. Paul's in this situation where he won a bunch of competitions early and was able to create this base of power, and now he has to throw everything because he can't tip his hand to which side that he's ultimately working with. And it's sort of leaving him in this impotent position where he's now just relying on the will of other people, where it would be so much easier for Paul if he could just sort of unmask himself, just win these competitions, and then put the people on the block that he ultimately wants.
Yeah, well, Nikki in the chat says, Andy in Big Brother 15, I feel like we absolutely could get one of those mashed up edits after the season where they mash together all of the diary rooms from people yeah, I want Paul to win this HOH. Yeah, I want Paul to win this HOH. Brent, how frustrating is this for you?
Well, incredibly frustrating, but at this point I'm sort of used to it. You know what I mean? I think all of my frustration was left back in maybe 3 weeks ago. At this point, I'm sort of just marveling at the amazing control that Paul has over the house and looking to see if there's anybody who can sniff it out, and there may or may not be at this point.
All right. Well, there was also something else that was very interesting about last night. I thought this was probably the highlight of the episode for many people. We finally got some hashtag Raven exposed party into an episode. We had a long laundry list of Raven's ailments and or falsehoods, with Paul reacting to every single one, which I thought was one of the best parts of the segment. Brent, how much have you been looking forward to this?
I've been looking forward to it, but it didn't quite give me what I want. But maybe this is all that Big Brother is willing to give me at this point, because I felt like it was more Jordan BB11-esque dodo music sort of things happening. It was not the Raven Exposed party on Twitter. I know people said that. I know Cameron tweeted about that, or Malcolm, take it or leave it. But I felt like that it was just a little bit of weak sauce if you are a member of the Raven Exposed party, as I am. On the other hand, I was glad they started to get...
It's like a political party?
Well, I enjoy it. Yeah, I just felt like it was a little bit light.
It's too moderate. Rob, did they go easy on Raven here? Is that what you feel?
Brent is a member of the alt Raven Exposed. All the way. Very extreme.
Yes.
I would say that I was actually pretty surprised that they went in this direction, because they've sort of been holding back all season long. And then last night, not only did you get the segment of Raven mumbling, and that was sort of like a little bit more of a wacky segment, which was
his belt, they wrap around me.
And a lot of Matt trying to decipher what she was trying to talk about. But then you did get Paul as sort of the narrator of the show talking about, I don't know what Raven is talking about. And they really went down a laundry list of like a supercut of all the different lies that she's told in the house. And I have been interested to see, I don't know if she's commented, but I'm sure we're waiting for Raven's mom to make a statement about what Raven was showing on the show. Because, I mean, Paul basically point blank is calling her a liar. And so as we get into the spoilers, maybe this could be a week where we start to see more of Raven being upset about things. So I think that it will be very fun to see how negative the edit will turn against Raven. I thought you also got to see a lot of Matt for the first time last night really start to get mad at the Alex and Jason. I mean, I know you guys talked about what they were doing in the live feeds, but I mean, that was really terrible how they played that whole situation in the HOH challenge, where they were trying to broker this deal between each other. I think that Matt was all of us all right, guys, what is this? This is so stupid.
Well,
we know you're all working together.
I agree. But on the other hand, it really wasn't stupid, because there's a distinct difference between having Jason as the head of household and having Alex as the head of household as we get into the spoiler section. By the way, this is normally spoilers. Are we not in spoilers now, or we're just talking about the episode? What are we doing here?
I mean, I think we're good for spoilers. I gave a warning at the top of the show.
Cool.
Unless
Rob, can you imagine?
I was just following Taran's lead because he went with.
Okay. This is Big Brother. We're talking spoilers here, and the whole chat room is with me on this. Okay, so the point is, there is a difference between having Alex or Jason as the head of household. If Alex was the head of household, I guarantee you Kevin's ass would be on the block later today. But Jason as the head of household, he's got a mind of his own. At least at this point, people on Twitter were calling him woke. I would not call him woke. He was just maybe fluttering his eyelids a little bit.
Yeah, well, Alex is talking about in the diary room, this is a plan to make people think that Jason and I are not as close as we actually are. Meanwhile, everyone's like, why are they doing this? They're only making themselves look even tighter than they are. Of course, Alex's plan has the complete opposite effect of what she intends. That's just typical.
Well, part of my annoyance was that Matt, who fell off in record time and then somehow wants to tell these people how to run their competitions. I wanted to tell him to sit his ass down. And if I had been up there, that's exactly what I would have said, whether Paul let me do it or not. On the other hand, Alex could not have played this worse. I don't know what the things that she was asking for were things that were just that were a given, considering that Jason is your ride or die, as they noted on the television show. And to have the gall to ask for a jury vote in front of the entire house. I mean, I literally said this on Twitter. She is one of the stupidest house guests of all time. And that is a high bar when it comes to 19 seasons of Big Brother.
Yeah, well, I like that they couldn't even get a clean cut of the Paul and Josh talking about Kevin in the audio because they've got Matt like screaming at them in the background, like, "What are you guys doing? Why?
What is wrong with you? Don't you know Raven's called?
Can we go in and eat some pizza?
I want pizza and cereal." Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
I was glad we got the Josh diary room calling out Matt for welcome to the game, Matt. It's been 60 days. You haven't said a damn word. I don't even know what you look like when you're angry. It was nice to see, and you're going to go home this week, girl. Bye.
Yeah. You introduced them just to send them home. So yes, then we had a search for the hinky votes here, and there was a lot of speculation on these very update podcasts as to what happened with Alex's vote, because she's acting like she didn't know she voted that way, and it turns out she didn't. She really did accidentally vote this way. I have to assume that she did find out later in the diary room that she did vote for Matt and then was like, oh my God, I did it on accident. I mean, this has to be the first time we've ever seen this happen in Big Brother history, I think, Rob.
I think so. And it was very fun for me because I was out of the Big Brother loop over most of the weekend, and I've sort of been cramming to get back into this. So I actually watched Sunday night's episode before I caught up on everything you did over the weekend with the live feed. So it was very funny to know, yeah, Alex made a mistake. She voted for the wrong person. And then hear you guys trying to figure out what happened with the hinky votes over the weekend, where it was like, okay, well, Alex and Jason were the hinky votes. Then on Saturday, it was like, it seems like that Alex talked to God, aka production, and there seems to be some confusion. Is she believing her own lie now? What's going on? It's like, no, I voted for the wrong person. It was supposed to be just one hinky vote against Kevin, and we both made a hinky vote.
Yeah, and I even said, like, no matter which way this goes, either she did it on purpose, and she was in on the plan with Paul, in which case Paul might be in trouble, or she did it on accident, in which case, like, she's lying to Paul. Either way, it's not good for Paul. I didn't consider the fact that maybe she did it on accident, and Paul is still somehow in the clear. Like, no matter what happens, Paul is always in the clear here. Brent, what are your thoughts on this vote?
I mean, this is insanity. I cannot tell you how bad this is to go into the diary room when there are 6 people voting and be so worried about your damn shout-outs that you vote for the wrong person. As I said to Cleo on Twitter, we have fantasized about, getting like 4 random people individually to cast hinky votes and switching the eviction to a different house guest. Oh, wouldn't that be cool? That's in our, Big Brother fan fiction novel. But, I mean, to have somebody actually go in and vote for the wrong person on, like, because they were so busy trying to do something else is just...
This was Topaz.
It really was. I don't... and then I heard her afterwards talking to Whistle and saying, well, I may have voted for him. I'm not totally sure. And since I'm not totally sure, then that's not a lie. Like, she's so concerned about, like, being an honest person, but yet on the other hand, she's totally fine calling Kevin old and senile and let's try to, like, get him riled up. I mean, I don't know. She's got no plan, Rob.
Yeah. Well, I like it, on one hand, it's kind of hard to blame somebody for getting names wrong when we get names wrong on this podcast all the time. But like, we are having like hour-long discussions, and maybe if she wasn't having an hour-long shout-out session, she'd be able to get one name right if she's only saying one name. But you're right. She's like, all right. I got like 15 names in my head. Like, here we go. I'm voting for Matt. Wait, hold on. Yes, Matt. No. Shout out this person. Oh man, it's just a disaster.
Well, it's even funny watching the edit because in showing her wrong vote, they had to do like a really rough cut because like she didn't even finish her vote and she was into the shout out. So you could tell there was definitely an edit there. They couldn't even hide it on the show, and they obviously, I wish they would have really thrown her under the bus and said, well, this is the reason why this happened.
Yeah, she's clearly not kind to the editors. You're supposed to always leave gaps in between what you're saying so you can make clean cuts. And Matt was being mean earlier too by like shouting during the HOH competition. They couldn't pull clean audio. I mean, I feel for these editors, man. Then we have the temptation twist. Very exciting stuff, right? Lots of game-changing twists. Lots of discussion about whether or not to take it. Rob, what are your thoughts?
I think they really blew it with the temptation twist because I don't think they put enough good things onto the tree. Like, I understand you should have done one or two things that were a zonk, but most of them are just sort of like, eh. And so that they really did not incentivize players who might be desperate enough to make a pitch to go and grab an apple and risk whatever sort of backlash there would be. And there wasn't like a coup d'etat or something that was going to make people really want to stick their neck out to grab one of these apples.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, production didn't read the house correctly. If you're going to introduce an element like this into the house, the downside is that you have to go to the diary room and announce it to everybody that everybody knows you took the damn apple. That's the downside. You should get something good from the tree. It can't be like a double negative. And, a double negative in our world is a positive, but not on Big Brother. In Big Brother, you're just like, you look bad and you totally get screwed.
Yeah. Hat and Raven, who are like in desperate trouble this week to survive, are like, well, we don't want to shake the apple cart here. We can't be taking temptations. Man, if we get a bad one, all of a sudden maybe I'm gonna go home instead of me. That would be terrible. So it's understandable why they'd be so scared, I guess. But yes, nobody takes any apples, and we have no temptation twist this week, which I'm fine with.
I will say really quickly that it was nice to see, just for a hair moment, that Raven wasn't totally snowed by what's going on. She recognizes that the last 4 people evicted were all a part of the other 2 showmances in the house. She recognizes that she is a part of the last showmance, but she's like, well, that needs to stop right now. Why? Why would that stop right now? Enlighten me, girl. I want to know, because from what I'm seeing, you're just living in Never Never Land if you think it's actually going to stop right now. For her to not recognize after saying that she's then in trouble, and Matt may be in trouble because of her, I just don't know what she's thinking.
They believe Paul. That's really the thing. We talked about it. It's like they're like, well, Paul has always been right up until now, so why would we just start doubting him now? It's just you're alive until you're not.
Pick a different analogy with Raven, Taran.
All right. So again, we have the Raven exposed party thing. Just going through these. I know that people have been enjoying these as the season has progressed, but there's a whole new fan base now for Raven's Lies. Her and her mom are in Mensa.
Taran, I believe the medical term is inverted truth.
What even is that?
What is that? Yeah. The thing about the Mensa was sort of crazy because, if you're in Mensa, that means you're in the top 2% in the country. So that means that her and her mom are in the top 2%. And the odds of that are, pretty big. And then to also have her mom get struck by lightning and to run a mile and it still be a record.
Yeah. This doesn't make sense to you, Brent, that Raven's mom gets struck by lightning, gets superhuman powers. Now she can run faster than anybody. She's smarter than anybody. She can, get all of these diseases, but then be able to recover. I think that this all makes a lot of sense.
I don't know. There's no particle accelerator in the vicinity of Raven's mom, so I don't think she's getting the ability to run fast from the lightning. But aside from that, I was glad the show called this out, but I felt like here's the thing: if this is just foreshadowing for what we may get in the future, if there is another Ravens edit on the show, because she's probably going to stay this week, I feel like that the next one's probably going to be rougher than this one.
I really want them to show the Arabic thing because they could put subtitles under there just to refresh anyone who doesn't remember. She cursed, quote unquote, cursed at Matt in what she called Arabic, but as anybody that knows Arabic has told us, it was complete gibberish. So they could totally put subtitles under there with just gibberish words, and then have Paul in the diary room that was not Arabic or something.
That's ridiculous. If you're dating someone, don't get a dog together. It's dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
And what I would worry about though is, and Brent, I think this speaks to what you're saying, is that Raven is a pathological liar, makes up all of these things that are going on with her, and has all these outlandish claims. Does it end up becoming Matt does nothing, eats cereal, has one shirt, and she sort of like runs with it, where it's like, I guess I just have a million conditions, y'all. Like, I guess I just make stuff up for fun, y'all. And it becomes sort of like part of her character as opposed to the Raven exposed party that you are hoping for.
Yeah, and I also think that, on a show that's as light generally as Big Brother, I think it's probably hard for the editors to give us what I would really want. It would probably come off as a bit dark and mean-spirited, and I think maybe some people watching wouldn't really understand what's happening with her and what a lot of us think is happening with her. So I understand what their difficulty in dealing with the situation.
Well, and you also know that as soon as like this comes out, she'll be like, "Man, you know what? I got that hypochondriac syndrome."
My mom had it. I have it. It runs in my family. We're all hypochondriacs.
That was the thing
it's
she
one
said.
of the worst cases they've ever seen.
Like she has rough kneecap syndrome.
Yep.
I know this wasn't on the show, or was it on the show? I don't think it was. No, it happened recently.
Yeah. She told
I was
Paul,
laughing about it on Twitter. What? Yeah, who?
I did have somebody tweet me. Such a thing actually does exist, but it's actually very rare and like nothing what she's describing. But it's still it's ridiculous. And I did feel like we finally solved one mystery, because I feel like all season long, one of the most, confusing parts about the entire season, how is Matt able to just like, of all the people in the house, everyone is against Raven now. Everyone sees that she's like a kind of a crazy person, except for Matt. And it's like, why? Like, what is happening here? Why does Matt put up with her in this way? Why is he so into her? And I think we finally found out, because he doesn't understand half of the things she says.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. What I said, that Alex is one of the dumbest house guests ever. I think Matt is one of the most apathetic house guests ever. He just doesn't care, Taran. I don't think it's about he doesn't understand her. He doesn't care enough to try to understand her. He just is like, as long as you're sucking my dick, it's all cool. I'm sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to say it, but that's the truth.
Wow.
That's the truth.
What time is it?
About in the Big Brother house. All he cares about. Alex warned us going into this season that this guy is like, he likes his women, and he's going to want that in the house. He's going to want companionship. And every night I have to watch him on the feeds. And so I feel like you all should have to suffer a little bit too, like with that visual, because that's all he cares about. He doesn't care about $500,000. He doesn't care about getting to the end of the game. Like, I really think he might. He has said, we'll see. He has said that he will eat, and he's a have-not this week, to try to get a penalty vote to make sure he goes home if Jason doesn't pull one of them off the block. Again, I know people say this before the veto and then maybe after the veto.
Don't say that that's like some noble gesture. The guy is addicted to cereal. He's got a 4-box-a-day habit. He can't help it. If he wanted to be a have-not, he couldn't.
Yeah, anytime Raven is speaking, he's just like, she's talking about cereal. She's talking about cereal. It's okay.
Yeah, she's just like one of the Peanuts teachers, like wah 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 wah. He's just thinking about what cereal to eat next. Taran, I want to float a theory past you. Tell me what you think about the psychology of this for Matt, where he keeps talking about like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll go up on the block. I guess I'll be a pawn. I'll take one for the team. Do you feel like that is sort of like his way of making up for the fact that he doesn't win anything? He feels like he can't contribute in any way to the group, where he feels like, okay, well, he's sort of like the guy, he has no money, but he's like, well, you can, I'll donate something else to the group because I want to be able to feel like I'm contributing in some way. Is that sort of like his way? If he was able to win some competitions, that then he wouldn't have to feel like he was going up on the block as a pawn?
I think so. I think, even just if he won some competitions, I think he'd get a little taste of power, and it might change his outlook on the game just slightly. He's very, very concerned with the team, which, is such a weird thing, because he's the only one that really speaks in that way. Like, you have Josh a little bit like with like La Familia, but for the most part, Matt is the one who by far who talks about the team the most. And he's the one that like is contributing so much to this quote unquote team, and they couldn't care less. They're willing to vote him out this week.
Two things. Number one, I think Christmas referred to the team a lot during her HOH weeks, and I was really sick of hearing that. But I will grant you that Matt probably refers to it the most. The thing that I don't understand is again, I just think he's apathetic because at this point, he should be saying, you know what, we've already been on the block a couple different times. Like, I've done it for the team. You know, why, if this is really a plan to backdoor Kevin, just put Christmas and Josh up. Just put Christmas and Josh up. Why that never came out of his mouth. It was always like, okay, we'll go up on the block as a pawn. It's all good. As long as you pull us off, you know. I mean, it never ever once. At least give it, at least give a little bit of pushback. And there was nothing there.
How's this for a theory? We know that Alex Kidwell is buddy-buddy with Matt. We also know that Alex Kidwell is a huge Dr. Will fanboy. What if Alex Kidwell was like, here's the Dr. Will strategy is just act like you don't care.
Win nothing.
Win nothing, embody that you don't care about the game, you don't even want to be there. And Matt was like, all right. And he went into the house and he forgot that he was supposed to be acting. I feel like I just solved it.
I don't know. I think that's a bit much. I mean, I guess maybe this just shows the subtlety of Dr. Will's game. I'm serious. It shows the subtlety of Dr. Will's game because I suppose, like from a far away, there's not a lot of difference. You're like, oh, these two guys who don't win anything and don't try and don't really care to be there. On the other hand, Matt is completely terrible at Big Brother, and that should be pointed out.
Okay.
Right, so just to make it, I want to make sure I'm following you guys. So Dr. Will and Matt is not a close comparison.
We're making that pretty clear.
He brought it up.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm glad Brent made sure we were very clear about that. All right. So finally, we did get a little bit of Josh being a little skeptical of Paul in the episode. They're starting the Steve Moses edit a little bit here. We've been talking about how Josh may be our Steve Moses, and we got a little bit of it. He says to Christmas, I'm kind of feeling sketched out about Paul. He's talking to Alex and Jason a little bit here. I still trust him. But I'm getting a little worried here. Rob, what do you think about this?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit like there's a Saturday Night Live weekend update sketch that Fred Armisen does with Vanessa Bayer, where they were like the friends of like a fake person, and they would bring them onto the weekend update desk. And so, like, Josh is a little bit like, yeah, I don't know if I trust everything. And the weekend update host is this. So are you saying you don't trust Paul? No. We're not saying that. No, we're not saying that. No. Just saying he's a little bit. And I think that's where he is. And Brent, I have to say that this is the version of Josh that's been my favorite version of Josh throughout the season, where my issues with him had been that he was such a trash talker, but was being snowed the whole time. And a bit of a baby as well. But this, to me, is that if he is the one who's able to sort of like see the writing on the wall, that's a very exciting prospect for me to be able to notice. And this is, I think, the real tricky thing about what Paul is doing, where he's in bed with these pairs and he has to be able to convince all three of them with very different agendas that he's on their side. And now you saw where Alex and Jason had the power this week, and Paul floating to them, and Christmas and Josh, who are the alleged real final two, saying like, hey, wait a minute, how come he's not sort of kibitzing with us all week long? Why is he spending so much time with them? Maybe he's telling other people a different bill of goods than he's telling us.
Yes, and even after the episode into the spoiler territory, he has continued to vocalize this and point out that because obviously going into next week, the plan is for everybody, including Alex, to throw the HOH to Josh under the assumed plan that Josh is going to get rid of Kevin or put up Kevin and Raven, but obviously that's not the real plan. Paul is really snowing everybody or snowing Alex and Jason to get Alex to throw HOH to Josh so that Josh can take a shot at them. But Paul is trying to be a little too cute here, I feel, because it's all of his stuff, his shtick has worked on everybody. Like in the episode tonight where he went to Alex and he said, well, should I go talk to Raven and Matt? And she's like, yeah, do that. Okay, Josh recognizes that when you give someone all that power, that they're good if the situation becomes bad, and you are the one who's really screwed. In this situation that we're talking about, we're throwing HOH to Josh, and then Paul acting like, oh, well, I couldn't believe he put you guys up on the block. Josh recognizes that Josh would become the guy with the black hat in that scenario, and I'm glad to see that he is waking up. The problem is he's not getting a whole lot of support, Taran, from his ride or die, Christmas. And, I feel like at this point he's like planting seeds, and I'm going to see if they sprout at all, because if he doesn't get any support, I don't feel like it's going to go anywhere. She's got to see something. She's got to recognize by letting Paul do essentially what Jason is willing to let Alex and Paul do this week, which is, act, oh my God, I can't believe they didn't use the veto. I feel like she needs to recognize that is not a good spot for her, and it's a great spot for Paul.
Yeah, it's becoming a daily segment on the live feed update. Josh expresses doubt about Paul. Christmas shuts it down, and that was that also happened today. So let's get into the update here. So we're gonna be recapping yesterday on the feeds. Rob's got his buzzer. We'll also be talking a bit more generally than we probably usually do, but we will be recapping the events of yesterday on the feeds. And to start off the day, we had Paul talking to Josh and saying that, like, all right, we're making a final five now with Alex and Jason. I'm trying to get them to throw you the HOH next week so that you can take a shot at them. And Josh is like, wait a minute, isn't that going to piss them off? Like, am I going to be pissing them off if I do that? And Paul's like, it doesn't matter. There's only going to be one left in the game. It's fine. This is Paul wanting to use Josh as a weapon, and Josh being like, I don't know if I want to be used as a weapon. This doesn't seem like the best idea for me. So we had got even more of this doubt that Josh is expressing. Rob, I imagine that you would feel equally doubtful if Paul was like, hey, Rob, now.
Yeah, I think that for Paul, one of the things that I think he's starting to struggle with is that he is getting a little more desperate in terms of, okay, there's bigger moves that he needs to have happen as he is got more and more caught up in this trickier situation that he's in. And instead of where at his best, sort of like laying out the facts and sort of steering Josh or somebody to be able to make that decision and come to the like, oh, okay, well, what if I put up Alex and Jason on the block? And Paul could say, that's crazy. That's outside the box. I like it. Let's do that. But I think that sort of like trying to force this idea onto people is where he's going to get himself into the point where people say like, wait, well, hold on. Well, I don't want to do that. So it's tough because he needs to, pull off these bigger and bolder moves to accomplish his goals. But I don't know how he does that with, without sort of a less strong touch.
Yeah, and this was, so really quickly, I just want to say that this is the one spot where Christmas did give Josh a little bit of support, recognizing, hey, this may not be so good for you to win HOH. Like, if at all possible, we need to throw this to Raven, and then Raven will take the shot, and then we can look like the good guys, like, we can't believe this happened. Sorry, guys, too bad. But aside from that, she's not giving Josh much of anything. I agree with Rob that Paul is trying to force these moves to happen. And Josh is a fan of the show and recognizes the amazing spot that Paul is in. Like, I even heard him say yesterday, like, I feel like Paul is working with everybody and he's good with everybody no matter what. And of course, Christmas is there saying, well, but he's really loyal to us. And again, as Taran, as you pointed out on the live feeds yesterday, that is true. He is loyal to you, but he's not loyal to you to a fault. He's only loyal to you because it's convenient to him at the moment. And Josh is correct that he does have good relationships with everybody else in that if something goes wrong, Paul will be held unaccountable and Josh and Christmas will be up a creek without a paddle. So I feel like they're both kind of right, but I feel like I side more with Josh because allowing Paul to just retain absolute power here is a terrible move, both inside and outside the house.
Yeah, I mean, basically coming up to this next HOH, we've got Paul convincing Alex to throw this. Alex is saying that she's down to throw it to Josh, which is insane. Oh. Who knows if she'll actually do that? Paul has told her to throw it before, and she hasn't. Okay. So when it comes to the actual competition, she'll probably get caught up in things and just win it if she has the ability. However, she's trying to throw it to Josh. Josh is trying to throw it to Raven, and Raven is trying to throw it to Josh. Everybody is trying to throw it to somebody, including Paul, who wants to throw it to anybody who's not him. So I don't think there's a single person who's just like, yeah, I just want to win, except for maybe Kevin, who's probably the least likely person to win. But Rob, you're completely right that Paul is in this bad spot right now because Jason and Alex are so good at competitions, and he's the only person that can really combat them in these competitions, but he can't be the one to take them out.
Why not? Why
not?
Paul
I was just going to ask the same thing. Why not?
He's made this bed and he's trying to play this game with like one hand tied behind his back. Why not win the HOH this week? Get Alex and Jason, one of them, get them out of the house. And what's going to happen to him? Oh, is he'll get to the end and everybody will be pissed at him?
I think he's worried about the jury votes because they'll be mad and bitter in the jury. I think he's also worried about the fact that they have a ton of information on him that they could start spilling, and it like for as much as Josh is skeptical about Paul, if Alex and Jason go like, yeah, we've been in a final three since like week one, like he's been working us this whole time, that could really start to like get people thinking and thinking about like, well, maybe we do want to take a shot at Paul at final five. It's something that he doesn't want to have to do. And I think that if he does have to, he will, but I think he really wants to push this because it works out much better for him if he can keep the other people shooting at each other, and then he can start winning.
I feel like it's
again.
only a half measure, though. It's only a half measure because they're going to find out that he betrayed him in the jury house anyway. They're going to all talk. They're going to find out that he had deals with everybody. It's kind of a question of whether you hurt their feelings now or hurt their feelings later. I feel like it's kind of better to hurt their feelings now and at least say it to their face. Hey, you know what? I'm playing the game. You've been had. Sorry about it, girl. Bye. As opposed to letting them find out in the jury house and stew about it and then want their pound of flesh when they go to cast their vote. That's just me, though.
Well, see, I think for the most part, I disagree with that because people tend to be the most bitter at the person who did it to them directly, right? They're mad. They're like, I can't believe that Memphis just betrayed me. And then they're like, oh, Dan was orchestrating it. Well, you know, that's Dan being Dan, but I'm still pissed at Memphis. Same thing with Cody and Derek. Like, people found out that Derek had been playing them all along, but he never really did anything directly to them, except for, of course, Donnie, who felt like, oh, Derek, screwed me over.
And Christine, I feel like to a lesser extent. I mean, he won the HOH in the double eviction, placed her on the block. She was quickly evicted, and he knew it was going to happen. So, I mean, but I take your point. Here's the thing. There's two roads. He has a choice. The road with the hand tied behind his back is a more difficult road because he has to rely on other people to do his dirty work and while at the same time, him appearing to be totally not informed about what's going on whenever everybody in the house knows he's informed and he's the one pulling all the strings and nobody really seems to care at this point. On the other hand, he could really go after the competition, likely win it. I mean, I would love to find out. I mean, I guess we do know now he did throw this competition. I was wondering because I was on Raven's camera when Paul, because they basically fell down at the same time, and I couldn't believe that he had fell down. When Raven fell down, obviously he threw it at this point because he didn't care which one of the three of them won it. On the other hand, I do feel like that Paul would do better if he just went after it because I feel like people could respect it more. But it just depends on your cast, Yeah. I guess.
I like Paul was like, I got to make this convincing when he throws the HOH, and then he's like, whoa! And
God.
so bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, they'll buy it no matter what he says. So he doesn't really need to make it convincing. But I do love this debate of whether he should stay the course or he should just go all out and try to win it himself and really take control of his own destiny. It's starting to feel like to me that take control of his own destiny is the less risky move because I feel like that he could sell that to the jury no matter what. I mean, you're going to have, Dr. Will there like that final night, like, okay, well, but yeah, Paul made a lot of you mad, but who do you think played the game? So I think that probably helps him even if he stays the course. But I feel like that in terms of going out. I mean, Taran, do you feel like at all this is like where Dan was at in Big Brother 14, where then he decides that he needs to really start making these big moves himself, and then go after Ian and try to take out Shane at the final four?
Yeah, I mean, Dan was forced to be the instrument of destruction there. Granted, I'm very much under the belief that was not what killed his jury game, that he had already lost at that point by being a returning winner. But I do think it didn't help, because being that instrument is never like the greatest thing that you can be doing if you can help it. And I do think that if I'm Paul, I am going to be playing in that HOH, and if I can get it thrown to Josh or Raven or somebody like that, I'm going to do that. If I have to win it myself, I'm going to, because I agree with you guys that like if it comes down to it, I'm still at least in the game. I'm still taking shots at Alex and Jason. He cannot let Alex and Jason remain in this house as a pair. That is just very dangerous territory for him. Granted, there's a very good chance that Alex will gun for Kevin next week, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for him at all, leaving Jason as the only one to compete. And then as these competitions get more and more quiz-based, Jason is not going to be able to do particularly well. He could then take a shot at Alex and Jason the next week using Josh or Raven or somebody like that. So I might even throw the next HOH. That's probably where I'd stand, and I think that's probably what's going to be happening. He talked with Alex a lot about getting Kevin out next week. He told Jason, when you don't use the veto, just blame Kevin. Say Kevin told you something, and that's why you didn't ip the veto. So all the blame goes on to Kevin. Kevin is really everybody's punching bag at this point. Alex is talking about antagonizing him, calling him old, really trying to get under his skin. They talked about a plan to
like Saran wrap.
Yes, they talked about a plan to lure Kevin, I believe, into the have-not room and have Alex hide in the cabinets, and then get Paul to get him to talk about Alex behind her back, and then she can use that as an excuse to go after him. Kevin is he's turned into the scapegoat, or the scapegoat for everyone.
He's like persona non grata at this point for the house guests. It's sort of weird. Like I cannot stress enough how bad of a move Kevin talking to Cody was, because that is where everything went wrong for him. The house guests found out that he tried to make a deal with Cody to protect some people. The fact that he was even seen talking to Cody, they didn't even, people like Matt and Raven don't even know what he said to Cody, but yet they're all like, well, he was talking to Cody. He was sketchy. He's probably a cop who knows Derek from Big Brother 16. I mean, the insanity of this. If they could hear themselves at this point, I think that they would take an honest look at what they're saying and think, wow, we sound really stupid. But no, at this point, they're picking on a 56-year-old man who everybody loves, including Julie Chen. I don't think it's going to be very, very kind to them on the edit if they try to pull this off and antagonize him. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of people, I think a lot of people are not happy with Raven throughout the season, but I think a lot of people are turning even more on Alex right now. Leslie...
I'm sorry.
That points out a direct quote from Alex about Kevin. Let's start making him feel old and inferior. How is this strategy? I mean, it really does seem very mean-spirited, especially toward Kevin, who was very loyal to Alex for a very long time. And Alex was never very loyal to Kevin. Granted, he did cast that Hinky vote, and she kind of found out about it, and that's where that suspicion started. But it's turned into this sort of thing where they could have easily been allies. They could easily be trusting each other and working together, but Alex has just completely fallen under Paul's spell and is fully anti-Kevin and is very, very vicious about it.
Can we just talk really quickly about the fact that Alex says that Paul is here to teach us and to help us on our quest for $500,000. Rob, I am not kidding when I say she is just stupid. Why? I mean, I don't even think Paul has said these things to her, and somehow she has made it up in her head that he is an instrument to help her win the money.
Is it possible that she also made a mistake, that she thought this is like some sort of a coach's season and Paul is not eligible to win the money at the end of the season? Is that possible?
Oh my God, yes. Jason and her have been talking, we're good. We trust Paul. He's not going to betray us. Meanwhile, he's plotting their demise with everybody else in the house.
Jason should have gone home this week, right?
I'm pretty sure somebody in the house was under the assumption that Paul was playing for a different prize, up until somewhat recently. I don't remember who it was. But yeah, I mean, they really do see Paul as somebody different than them and who's playing a different game. And, I don't know. Alex just, she's like, oh yeah, he's just like Rob Cesternino trying to help me get cast on Big Brother or something. He's just here to help.
Very helpful.
Yeah, but secretly Rob is cutting your chances. That's what's happening.
I call up casting and do not put this person on. They're too good.
Yeah.
Start a podcast. They're going to put me out of business. Do not cast them. Good day.
Yeah. Or Derek trying to coach you up. I'll make you just as good as me. And then you're out the next week. What happened?
Right. Can I ask you, do you guys feel like that Paul is prepared for the fallout of Kevin not going on the block today in terms of Matt and Raven?
I mean, okay, so the plan is, and Jason is okay with this. The plan is that basically everyone is going to act completely shocked and surprised and mad. I can't believe Kevin did this. or I can't believe Jason did this. Kevin got in his ear. We're so pissed about this. Obviously, when this all sounds well and good, but actually playing these things out can be difficult. It leaves you open. Whenever you're acting, it can be obvious sometimes. If you're not a good actor, then it's like, oh, wait,
it's a terrible idea.
This seems fake to me. But we're talking about Matt and Raven here, so it's probably not going to do anything.
Yeah, but we're also talking about Whistle, because they're going to go up to him after this happens, and he is not good, admittedly, under pressure. He's going to spill to them if they attack him at all. Look, guys, I talked to everybody about this. I told them that this is what I was going to go. I know what he's told Alex. I know Whistle is okay with everybody basically throwing him under the bus, actively so. He's like, okay, it's okay. I can take the heat. Don't worry about it. But when they come to him, Matt and Raven I'm talking about, and they want answers about what happened, he's not a good liar. He's not going to be able to sell that it was Kevin. What did Kevin tell you to magically make you do this? He's going to want to own it. I feel like he's had it up to here with Alex telling him what to do, and he's going to want to tell him the truth, which is kind of where I'm at with the house guest. I just want him to be honest at this point and say, you know what? You're not part of R5. We want you out. Girl, bye. But if he does anywhere near that vicinity and lets Matt and Raven know that, Paul's acting right now. He knew ahead of time. He knew that I was going to do this. I feel like that could be worse for Paul, but on the other hand, they're so stupid, maybe not.
And I also think that you could see Matt get really worked up. I mean, we saw him back in that HOH competition where he was yelling at Jason and Alex while they were on the wall. I think he's going to be really angry with Jason. And then I think he's going to eventually start to get really upset with Paul. And I don't know if he's going to be able to start the wheels turning of a counter resistance to Paul because of this, but I think it's going to really get people talking, especially when Raven gets hysterical. I think that's really going to upset him upset Matt when Raven gets very upset. And then we've also seen Raven explode at times when she was one of Paul's barking dogs in the house. I think that she's also going to think, oh, this is my moment that I have to be really dramatic. So I think it's going to be a very chaotic situation. I know that Paul thrives in chaos, but he's going to have his work cut out for him to clean up this mess.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing I don't understand, Taran, from Paul's point of view is, he thought, like you thought, of this great plan. You know what? This would be great. Actually cut Jason and Alex's numbers down by getting Kevin out this week, leaving Matt and Raven in the house. They'll be happy with me, and then they'll go after Alex and Jason. He had a chance to do that last night when they were talking about the whole, let's get Kevin in a room and let's let Jason and Alex hear, we'll bait him into talking his true feelings about Alex and Jason, and then they'll hear it, and then he can put him on the block tomorrow. Paul's like, you know what? Let's do that next week. So it's like Paul's almost settled into the plan at this point with Whistle's plan to get Matt to not use the veto and leave Matt and Raven on the block. I was sort of surprised about that because that was an opening for him if he wanted it, weren't you?
Yeah, I was, and I do think it's what you said. I think that he's got everyone settled. He's got the plan ready. He's like, yeah, I don't want to change it now, and I do think that's a little bit of a mistake. I do think the saving grace, though, in terms of confronting Jason, is that they did push to get Kevin on the block. So if Jason does do his diarrhea of the mouth, he'll be like, well, yeah, they pushed and I said no.
Yes,
because
I thought
that is
about
the
that
truth.
too. I thought about that. On the other hand, Jason, I'm curious about what he says in his speech, because the plan going into the veto was to lie to Matt and Raven. Everybody was in on that plan, including Paul, including Christmas and Josh, and just tell them the fake plan was Kevin was the backdoor target, which was not the plan going into the veto, and everybody knew it. So if Matt and Raven find out that everybody knew about this plan and they were okay with it going into the veto, I'm not sure it's really going to really help anybody that they tried to change the plan afterwards. I mean, they were guilty to begin with.
Well, I think again, the saving grace is the simpler explanation, the simpler way to describe it is that, yes, there was a plan to take Kevin out, but then I said no, rather than the initial plan was you, but then I guess I won the veto and then it changed and then we did this.
What Whistle said. I mean, all Jason has to say, look, this was the plan at the beginning of the week. I'm sticking to that. And, yes, they tried to push for something in the middle there, but I'm sticking to this plan. And they all knew that this was the plan at the beginning. If they hear that, that might open their eyes. But again, Matt is so apathetic. Raven, on the other hand, is money hungry. I feel like she does want to win the money. And she is she doesn't want to go out of the house. To be blunt, she can be a bit of a bitch when she doesn't get her way. So if that happens, I'm hoping that she will get whistle talking enough to where her mind starts turning and says, you know what? Paul knew that we were probably going to be the targets. I'm not sure she's going to care, but we'll see.
And from the other side of it, if it starts to get back to Kevin that there was this plot to get him up on the back door, whether it was to be a pawn or to be the real target, that could open up the other thing that we've talked about for weeks now, all of the dirt that Kevin has on Paul. Could that potentially come up this week is another interesting storyline to be monitoring.
I feel like if Josh hears about it, maybe, because I feel like he has his eyes and mind open to the fact that maybe Paul is playing us. On the other hand, nobody else really seems to be in that county, so I can't imagine that Kevin saying anything is going to change their minds, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the information will come out at this point, especially if Kevin is nominated next week. Although if Alex is the one to do it, or if Kevin doesn't sniff out that Paul is the one that did it, maybe not. But I do think there's a decent chance this information comes out. The problem is he didn't strike while the iron was hot. Paul lied directly about it a couple of weeks ago now. And so now it is in the past. And it's like, well, that was in the past. Like, whatever. I think most people will not care. I think, Brent, you're right, that Josh is probably the one that will care the most. He is somebody that holds on to, like, even if you wronged somebody else, Josh pays attention to that, and he'll throw that in your face. Like, Mark, you turned on Dominique, like that. You turned on Cody. That shows to me that you're a flip-flopper. I think he'll remember that Paul played Kevin in that way and turned on him and got everyone to vote him out, and he'll really, really think about that moving forward in the game. And it could, increase his ability to be our Steve Moses of the season. Josh did put in work with Matt and Raven, saying that he was going to try and prevent Kevin from getting anywhere near Jason. He wanted to, he said, that I'll be pissed if Jason doesn't use the veto. I'll go off on him.
That'll be Gumpy.
Yes. Matt and Raven feel very comfortable with Josh then. They're like, oh yeah, Josh is on our side. What a great guy Josh is. And Raven, as Rob, you pointed out, Raven said she's going to lose it on Jason if he doesn't use that veto. And Matt says, all right, here, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to eat regular food.
We'll see.
All week long.
Okay, this is the thing. If Matt, once the plan happens and the veto's not used and he realizes he's been had, at least by Jason, maybe by other people, I know he's been saying he's going to eat regular food, get the penalty vote, but at that point, eviction is staring him in the face. A lot of people say everything when they're, just yapping their gums about, I'll do this. But when the rubber meets the road, and he knows it's either me or her that's going to lose our chance at $500,000, and he's got no money, yeah, we'll see. I don't think he's really going to do that. I would hope he doesn't.
Yeah, a lot of us, I think, were hoping that, like, the upside of Matt was Corey, and the downside of Matt apparently is Clay. And so we're probably going to see the Clay in him come out this week.
On a scale of Clay to Corey.
Yeah.
Where does he come down?
I was talking about Corey in glowing terms a couple podcasts ago. Like, oh my gosh, couldn't we just have a guy like Corey in the house who's like a little bit self-interested and is trying to win the money and is not totally snowed by everybody? Oh, well, whatever. Yeah.
Yes. So Josh, again, tries to get Jason to use the veto. Jason is holding firm here. Then they have a discussion about who should go first. Should it be Matt, or maybe we should target Raven? And it actually, this is weird because this was a conversation about decisions being made, and Paul wasn't in the room, which is very rare.
Whoa. Is that allowed?
Right? And they started going off script. They were like, maybe we should take out Raven. She seems like she's better at competitions. She has more fire in her. Matt he doesn't care. We should just leave Matt in the game. And so that seemed to be the plan. Alex and Jason were fully on board. Josh was on board. Josh went to Christmas, and Christmas was like, I don't know about that. We kind of want Raven here with a fire lit under her to go after Alex and Jason. And then, so of course, at that point, it starts to turn. She then talks to Paul about the idea. Alex talks to Paul about the idea, and Paul, of course, as Paul does, he goes, oh yeah, sure, that's fine. We don't care. Either one. It's fine, as long as Kevin is next week. Then he talks to Christmas, and they're like, I don't know about this. I feel like we should keep Raven. Then he goes back upstairs to talk with Jason and Alex, and then he, of course, gets them back on board. We're going to be targeting Matt. That's the right decision. Matt should be going home. So there was a brief moment where we might have lost Raven, but it's back on to Matt, Rob.
We still have Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The thing with me, with Paul and his plans, and that we haven't gotten to this point yet, but Matt and Raven feel like, okay, it's us with Paul. That's our final three. At some point, Matt or Raven will go home this week, and the other person that's left will say, okay, now it's just me and Paul, and we're taking on the rest of the house. But Paul is not going to be able to sort of like maintain with that person, okay, we still have this final two, whereas the other pairs are not going to then say, okay, well, we'll just leave Raven alone now and let her think she's working with Paul. I have equated this to in Mrs. Doubtfire, where Robin Williams is on a date with his he's trying to get back in good with his wife, and he has to be Mrs. Doubtfire, but he's also like going back and forth and having to like go from one table back to the next table, and he's not going to be able to have all these simultaneous relationships and not have people say when Raven is left in the house wait, hey, Paul, I thought it's you and I against everybody, and now it is very messy. It's very hard to keep these stories straight.
Well, part of
So you
how
think about Paul's going to end up there with like his face coming off and the eyelash here.
This is quite gumpy.
Oh, wait, wrong voice. Yeah, part of how he convinced
voice.
part of how he convinced them to keep Raven this week was that he was saying to Alex, you have a great relationship with Raven. You will be able to reel her in after Matt goes home. And Alex is like, you know what? I do have a great relationship with Raven. I will be able to reel her in after Matt goes home. So, like, what he's trying to do is be like, no, I don't have her in my pocket. You have her in your pocket. And people just believe it because he says it, because they believe everything he tells them, because they are the people in Plato's cave. They have no perception of what's actually happening in the house beyond what Paul tells them. So I'm really not sure that he's going to get caught with Doubtfire makeup on himself.
I don't know. If he does, that would be rich, though.
I don't know how
that was a whipped cream joke, but it fell flat.
Keep a cake in the refrigerator.
All right.
We met cereal.
No, don't come from Matt's cereal. So Josh, like we said, we had this conversation with Josh in Christmas where he's starting to express doubt with Paul. He says, Paul is set up in the perfect position. And no matter what happens, Paul doesn't go home. Paul's not in danger. I feel like that's a tricky thing. Christmas then says, well, no, we're all in that position. He's working to get all three of us in that position. That's the whole point. And Josh is like, oh, no, okay. Yeah, I trust Paul.
I feel like each pair has an idiot at this point. Like, Christmas is the idiot for Josh and Christmas. Alex is the idiot for Jason and Alex. And obviously, Matt is the idiot for Raven and Matt. Like, they're just completely and utterly terrible. How did they find these people? I don't understand how bad they are. Matt, Rob, do you think I am being hyperbolic when I say, like, this is literally one of the worst seasons ever? I mean, am I being hyperbolic, or am I just in the moment?
I don't know. I think it's in the moment. I don't think that it's hard because you're so in it with the live feeds, because most of the people that I talk to in terms of just watching the show think that this has been a really fun season and are really into it. The ratings are all really high. It's just frustrating in terms of the amount of control that Paul has. If you're watching hours and hours of feeds on a daily basis, I understand where you're coming from with that perspective, but I also feel like that we're entering what could potentially be a very exciting part of the game where they've gotten rid of now the real outliers in the Jessicas, the Codys, the Marks, the people that weren't really tied to Paul, didn't have a lot of dirt on him. And now we get to the point where it's going to be very tricky business for Paul to be able to untangle this web that he's made over the course of the season. So I say give it time, Brent.
Okay, yeah, well, that's the thing. I will say that this week's been fun because Jason didn't do what Paul wanted. He said, you know what? I'm doing what I want. I ain't going to use the veto, and I'll take the heat, which, of course, instantly shot him up into the top 5 of favorite house guests this season, because we've been wanting somebody to think for themselves. Even if he is sort of doing it for the wrong reasons, he's doing it for himself. This is what I want, and he got a little mad at Alex trying to trick him. I think she might have actually was trying to trick him into nominating Kevin as a pawn to appease Matt and Raven, but then secretly vote out Kevin, Jason didn't like that very much. And I'm glad to see that he was sort of appalled by that, because as a player, he should be.
Appalled? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I feel like this is a fine season. I'm enjoying it. I think it's one of the ratings are up. I think the producers are enjoying the ratings. I think for the most part, whenever there's like an easy to follow storyline, I think the the editors and the producers they kind of like that. Because they're able to tell a very clear narrative, and that seems to do well with the audience. They're always showing the house guest season 16, season 12, anything with a like simple structure to the season where there's not a whole lot of chaos. Seems to be what they enjoy. Obviously, we love the chaos. We love when there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening, especially when you're a feed watcher. But I think in terms of the people that watch the show, they're only seeing small little snippets of that, so they don't need as much chaos as us. And for the most part, as somebody who enjoys gameplay, I do enjoy watching Paul walk in circles around people, just like I enjoyed watching Derek and all of those people.
But this could be really crazy. I mean, there's still this could be the calm before the storm. That there could be a major eruption in the next couple of days.
Yeah, talk to me tonight on the Live Feed Roundtable at 8:00.
Yes,
I'll send in my questions.
And that's the thing too, because as much as we say that Paul has this in the bag, anything can go wrong. And that's part of what makes Big Brother or Survivor so great, is that anything could go wrong. There are a number of things, a number of situations that we point out every week where things could go wrong for Paul. And the fact that they don't doesn't mean that they couldn't have. It just means that they didn't. And I don't need those things to happen to speculate about them and wonder if they're going to happen. And that's part of the fun for me. So I'm enjoying the season.
I am enjoying the season too. I also think we've gotten a little unlucky. We haven't had any what the F kind of HOH wins out of nowhere, and we haven't had any power shifts. And the only one we got was Jess, when she clearly misused her HOH. So,
You're right. Jess is really the cause of all the boredom in the season.
Can you imagine?
She had a
she would have placed, if she had a chance, she had the veto. All she had to do was put Alex up on the block. Josh would have gone home. Can you imagine the way the season looks at that point? On the other hand, oh well.
Yeah. All right. So there was another weird thing that happened yesterday. Matt and Raven got into one of the strangest fights I think I've seen on the feeds in a while. She was getting mad. She was throwing cinnamon at him. He was like, why are you getting so crazy? Are you Cody's sister or something? Are you sure you're from Arkansas and not Illinois? And then he was also like, you seem to pronounce better when you're angry. I don't understand that. And she was just staring him down and saying, I hate you. And the cinnamon was everywhere. It got she threw the whole cinnamon thing at him. Brent, did you understand?
I just think this was Raven wanting more attention. Honestly, I'm sort of surprised you're bringing it up. I know you're doing your due diligence in doing so. I get it. But on the other hand, I didn't really think much of this. I just thought it was more Raven wanting attention. And I think it's sort of hilarious that he's calling her one of the worst things in the book. Are you Cody's sister? He's going to be really surprised at the end of the season when Cody wins America's Favorite House Guest and they're all sitting there with their jaws on the floor. But I didn't understand where the fight was coming from. And again, Raven went into the diary room, said some stuff, then came back out, told us what she said, and then said she wants to go back into the diary room to amend what she said. Good luck with that, because she's worried that she's making Matt look bad. So it didn't really go anywhere.
Yes, I have been. I prayed to God, and I have been informed by the diary room, aka the chat, that it's Iowa and not Illinois. I'm terribly sorry that I made that mistake. Hopefully, it didn't cause too many hinky vote speculations.
Is it possible that Raven was upset that Matt spends more time thinking about the Cinnamon Toast Crunch bakers? That you and your beloved cinnamon. That's all you care about is cinnamon, isn't it? And your golden grams.
Like I said, I want to see, once the veto's not used and that, a day, maybe by Tuesday, by tomorrow, when let's say he doesn't start eating regular food. Let's say he continues to be a have-not. That's going to piss her off, because she's going to be like, I thought you were going to take a penalty vote. Aren't you going to, oh yeah, don't worry, I want to go home. But then he starts to realize that him going home means no more $500,000 that he maybe he's kind of thinking about it at this point. So I look forward to that. That'll be fun.
Well, what do you think? Let's just plant the flag. What do you think that Raven's behavior is going to be? Do we go back to dog barking Raven the rest of the week, or does Raven come down with a sudden ailment? Does she sort of like it's like the Jocasta, where it's like that she can't even attend the live ceremony. She becomes bedridden the whole week, and that people start to feel bad for her. Which way do you think she goes?
I feel like it's more woof woof, right, Taran?
I think Rob, I think she's saying that she's going to go woof woof, but I think you're completely right, Rob. I think she goes woof woof when she feels powerful. When she feels attacked and weak, I think she's going to go to her wheelhouse, which is
look what y'all are doing to me.
Yeah.
I'm having one of my episodes again.
As Hayden says, Raven will start blanketing. She'll
Tighten your belt, say wrap around me.
she'll start limping around. She won't be able to speak. She'll be bedridden. It'll just be crazy.
Yeah, I have to say the retells of Raven hurting her foot and then dancing like 20 minutes later with the stitches in it. Josh is just like, I can't with her. Like after I saw that, I can't with her. So that's become gospel at this point.
Yes. So finally, at the end of the day, we had Raven. She did have a plan. She was like, all right, here's what we're going to do to ensure that Kevin goes up on the block. We're going to have Josh yell at Kevin, and then it'll show Jason that everybody will be so mad at him if he doesn't use this veto and takes Kevin out of the game. And so she's like, all right, we're going to get Josh to do this because he'll just do our bidding. He's our little dog. And Josh is like, no, I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? Josh wants no part of this. Josh is done being the lap dog, the attack dog, I should say. Brent, I'm sure you're proud of him, right?
I am proud of him. I'm glad that he's not willing to do it. I'm glad he's trying to think about jury votes at this point, and he's not willing to just do what other people tell him to do. I think he feels powerful at this point. I think Josh thinks I'm actually pretty good at this game. Like I am nobody's target at this point, and I have a final three with one of the best players in the game. Even though he tells Christmas all the time, "You're one of the best competitors." Yeah, right. Whatever. I feel like that he's feeling his oats a little bit here, so that's part why he was not willing to go along with this plan, and good for him.
Yeah. So Josh continues to be like the one person who's acting somewhat logically in the house.
And when they were like totally bagging on Kevin, he was the one guy who was like, you know what? I think I do believe him that he has this family. He seems like a great father. Like he's not totally trashing again. I don't know if it's because he's a fan and realizes we're all watching. Because so often he's like, "Are we live?" They're like, "Yes, Josh, we're live." So I don't know where it's coming from, but he seems like he has a bit of a good heart.
Yeah, they were all bashing Kevin as they were talking about like potentially targeting him, and Josh was saying, "I feel like he's a good father. He's a nice person. Like we don't need to be doing anything." Josh, he told us he's a human being, and like any human being, he's got feelings too, and he can empathize with Kevin. Rob,
Josh, you can come to Thanksgiving. You're welcome. You're welcome. None of these other meatballs, they can't come. Just you, Josh.
That's the true motive. He wants to make sure he gets into Thanksgiving. None of these other people are getting into Aubrey and I are going to Thanksgiving.
I wanted to ask you, Taran, could you believe how, and I loved it, don't get me wrong, but how indignant Kevin was to hear that Matt and Raven were actively plotting against him? Like, he was just like, how dare they? I can't believe, what did I do to them? They do nothing in this house. Of course, he hasn't won literally anything, done nothing himself, but on the other hand, he was totally over it with Matt and Raven. What did you think of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, Kevin is very much, anytime that his name gets brought up, he's like, whoa. How dare you? How dare you speak my name? It's unfortunately part of what's contributing to the whole image that he's a very paranoid person, and that he doesn't shut up about things. It really definitely annoyed Jason when Kevin was just like, why are they talking about me? Why? And Jason's just like, wow, why did I tell you? Oh man. So yeah, it's not really in Kevin's best interest. He really should learn to chill, but also at the same time, like, the stories of Kevin's like explosions of paranoia are grossly over exaggerated. Like, he doesn't do it any worse than really anybody else in the house, but the fact that it's been pointed out to people and that Paul is constantly harping on it is really what gets people to be so annoyed. I mean, Rob, Paul even said to, I think, to Christmas or to Matt or somebody, like, yeah, every single time I speak to Jason, I make sure to bash Kevin. And it's like, oh, it's working. I mean, that seems to be the thing that works in the Big Brother house more than anything else, is these bashing sessions. It's always been a part of Big Brother. It's one of the least favorite things of the audience, though, I think.
Yeah, well, it really has been very much the theme of this season where, you're simultaneously, there's the person that you're trying to get rid of this week, but then you're also laying track for who you're going to get rid of next week. And it's been very transparent, not unlike the Saran wrap that Kevin uses. And it is an unfortunate thing. I think that we sort of forget about that this does go on a lot during the off season of Big Brother, and we don't see it a lot on the TV show, but it is an ugly part of the game.
Rob, have you tried the Saran wrap trick?
No, I haven't. I feel like it would be very uncomfortable. I don't know if it would. Even though Nicole said there is some science to it, I am not going to be trying anytime soon. I don't want to waste the Saran wrap.
More or less comfortable than working out every day, because it's really one or the other, it seems like.
Guess so. I like that. That's my time when I'm awake and before my kids get up. I don't mind it.
Yeah. All right. Clearly Kevin feels another way. Nobody can talk bad about him when he's busy saran wrapping.
That's right. That should be the Kevin exposed party when they show how much saran wrap he's wasted.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I am enjoying with Jason is that when in the live show or in the show with the other night when Alex was getting on him, because I do feel like that the show tries to play it that Jason is the stupid one and Alex is the smart one. When he ended up having that conversation with Kevin and let it slip about the hinky vote, I do love the Jason like, oh, what did I do now? Oh, this is another fine battle.
It was really good. I think it was more fun watching on the feeds because we were trying to figure out what the hell happened here. How did who came up with this crazy plan? Because nothing happens without Paul's say so in the house. So we were like, and then Paul was asking who did it, and he was asking it to the people who did it, and they weren't telling him. So I'm like, well, who's telling the truth here? Like, I couldn't figure out for the longest time how this plan came about. Of course, in the end, we find out Alex actually made a mistake in casting her vote.
Listen, you done did it again.
I mean, that's a very effective way of revealing that you screwed up, because I think like the majority of people, when they're like, "Oh, I screwed up," their immediate response is to go defensive and be like, "No, this is how I didn't screw up, even though I just did the thing you said not to do." But Jason just fully embraces it, like, "Oh, I'm such a dummy," and like it totally disarms people. Even though Alex is hitting him, she's not blaming him for it. She's not like mad at him. She's just like, oh, you. It's very effective. I feel like next time we screw up on the podcast, Rob, I'll just be like, oh, Rob, I did something bad.
I'll try it with Nicole. I'll see how that goes. Like, oh, don't be mad.
Oh man, yes, try that on the next 5 for 5.
I just like Alex's reaction. She was like a dog owner. She's like, "What did you do? What did you do?"
Bad, Jason.
It's like you see the dog walking around with his head hung low. You know that something is up. What is it? What did?
I loved it at the end when she was trying to cover because there was someone coming. So after she got yelling at him about the hinky vote, she's like, "And I'm not throwing HOH to you again." Like out of nowhere. Like, that's really good cover there.
That's almost worse than what they were talking about. All right, so that's our update / recap for the day. Unless you guys have any other thoughts or any questions in the chat that you want to ask real quick. I think there are plenty of options for hashtags here throughout the night. I don't remember them, so make sure you point them out in the chat unless you guys remember any. But this was a lot of fun. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens on the feeds. Today, we'll be live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern to do our LFC Roundtable podcast. Brent will not be blind from looking into the eclipse, so hopefully he'll be joining us tonight. We got Inverted Truth. That's a great one. That's our hashtag.
That was a nightmare. I drove 3 hours to see that damn eclipse, which I'm totally glad I did. And I thought, you know what, I'll be in plenty of time for the roundtable. It took me 3 hours to get there. Took me 9.5 hours to get home that night. I didn't get home till like 1:30 in the morning. I'm texting you on my phone in the middle of nowhere. Taran, I'm not going to be able to make it tonight. Sorry.
You were like, maybe I can like join in the middle of the podcast, and then you were like, nope. I'm just going to sleep at the rest stop. There's nothing. So that'll be a lot of fun. We will. I'm sure we can yell at each other about Paul's game or something.
Hopefully it'll be a fun day. I can't wait to the feeds are going to come back after they do the veto ceremony, and should be fun times.
Yes. We'll see lots of fighting and stuff. So maybe we'll do another like late start because there's going to be like some sort of fight that breaks out. Who knows? Right. Then also make sure you check out the Taran show. It will be dropping tomorrow. I spoke with Melissa Denny. Make sure you get to know her a little better. She's a very interesting person. I think she calls herself normal, but I don't know how normal she is. That
sounds like a tease.
You can't really be normal if you're a live feed watcher. That's my thought. So make sure you check that one out. I had a lot of fun talking to her. What were you going to say?
You start normal, and then the live feeds break you.
Oh yeah, very much so. I considered myself normal, and now look at me. I look at my background. I've got a mic in front of me, and I'm on a thing with like 2 other people, and I feel like I'm almost talking to myself, but not really. I'm kind of living in a crazy world.
I want to also give you a compliment on the Eric Stein episode of the Taran show. That I had gone through it over. I listened to it in a bunch of chunks, and I listened to like the first 90 minutes. I texted Eric Stein like, "Oh wow, this was great." And then I listened to like the last 40 minutes, and I had to text him again. I said, "What?" I mean, it was like even better. I'm just so happy for Eric Stein because I've known him for a long time, and I consider him to be a good friend. And I've also always considered him to be, he has been troubled at times, and I'm very happy to hear how well he's doing right now, and all the success that he's had these last couple of years. So really great to hear Eric in a good place.
Yeah, people loved that one. I mean, there were some people that were like, "Oh, I don't know, this might be even better than the Brent episode. He's coming for you, Brent."
Maybe, yeah. I've listened to a half of it, and I'm going to listen to the rest of it today.
Yes. Because just knowing him over the years, like I knew that he would be in like a dark place at times, and I was just he just wouldn't write back to me for 6 months, but then there would be times where he was like very responsive, and he wouldn't post anything on Facebook for months at a time, and just wondered like, okay, what's going on there? But very happy to be able to shade in some of the areas that were just like blank spots.
Yes, it was really interesting because, as you mentioned, like he has been very private, especially in public about like what he's been doing, and he talked about all of that. He talked about Big Brother 8. I feel like there's just so much stuff, and he's so full of stories, great stories. So it really was a lot of fun. Hopefully, I can get him back on at some point as well because I feel like he's a gold mine. Just keep mining it. But yes, so lots of fun on the Taran show. Of course, we'll be back Wednesday night to recap the Wednesday night episode. Rob, do you know who we're doing there?
Yeah, so scheduled to appear Nicole Franzel, winner of Big Brother 18. I'm sure that she will have a lot to say about Paul and his game. And then on Thursday night, we are going to have Ramsey Soto, I believe, that he is going to be joining us on Thursday night. So this should be a really big week of shows on the regular Big Brother recap. And then also I did the Game of Thrones recap last night with Stephen Fishback on post-show recaps, and I posted the first of our panels from RHAP-Con, the News AF celebration of 100 episodes. Plus, tomorrow we're going to drop our Survivor panel, which includes Survivor Family Feud, Brent, which I think you will enjoy. That was very, very fun, and should be a very busy Survivor week also.
Yeah. Very exciting. Hopefully we can ask Nicole, how do you beat Paul at this game? We keep coming up with theories, but none of them are working. Tell us, how do you do it? So very fun week coming up.
Yeah, that'll be great.
I don't know what happened. All right. So thank you, everyone, for joining us.
I'm really excited for Nicole because I honestly haven't been following her on social media. I don't know if she's going to be like, Paul is overrated or Paul is doing really well. So I think that's going to be very fun to see what she's thinking.
Yeah, maybe she'll update us on the Victor situation. Who knows? So yes, thank you all for joining us. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Armstrong Taran. Rob is at Rob Cesternino. Brent is at One Lucky Gay. Make sure you tweet at us with the hashtag inverted truth. We will see you next time.